My name is Valentin Bauberger. I'm a Design Academy graduate. I graduated this year in 2020. I'm originally from Switzerland, but I've been living here in the Netherlands for quite a while now. The project that I'm showing is called Everyday Companions. It's a set of everyday tableware that I made for my graduation. It's tapping into a bunch of different aspects that I personally really appreciate during these daily life interactions that we have with food and with tableware in particular, as these kind of reoccurring moments that we tap into from our daily routines. No matter what we do all day, we always circle back to these moments where we consume foods and where we use usually tableware to do so. So these are moments that are scattered around every day, pretty much all around the year, and therefore I thought it was a really nice aspect to tap into and to create things that deal with these moments, that create a nice atmosphere for it. So throughout the period that I was working on the project, I've been talking to a lot of different people about what their interactions look like with their tableware. So I've been sending out questionnaires to a whole bunch of people and I've asked them, what are these kind of key elements that you have? What are the objects that you're looking into? Is it a plate, the bowl, is it a cup? Are there specific rules on why you pick certain things or why you don't? And how these objects have a role within the daily life. And from these points, I tried to figure out a bit how we relate to these objects and why they are important or why they might not be. I think what for me was the biggest struggle was to realign the way I was planning on things. I'm used to schedule out a couple of days in advance what I'm planning to do, keeping in mind how long does it take to fire something, how long does it take to cast something, where am I in the production schedule, where am I in the planning. But then with every change of regulations, that all potentially gets offset, that it needs to be moved forward, it needs to be moved backwards, things change order, and you might get to points that you didn't want to get to when you're not prepared, or you might have to push and postpone things that you were really aiming to finish. And I think that was for me the biggest struggle, that I was not properly relying on my own planning, but then I had to take into account external measures that I could not foresee. I think the whole COVID pandemic, and especially the quarantine situation, the social distancing and all of that, opened some different ways of seeing my projects in particular. With both of my projects, I focused more on an interaction between a person and a thing. With this project in particular, with the eating, with tableware, and most likely that in a more domestic environment. All of the research that I did was more in domestic environments. I talked to one single person from a restaurant, but we still try to focus on what is at home. And I think with the pandemic now, with limits in how we can go outside, how we can eat out, how we can bring out external elements, how we can share our food with other people in physical contact, it changed potentially the way how we interact with ourselves. Because we're most likely stuck at home for quite a while, every once in a while. And that means we're just there with what we have. These elements, these things that we have at home, they gain way more importance, I think. It's this set environment, this home space that just needs to fulfill all the stuff that we need to do, all the activities that we have. We can suddenly just not leave and go to a bar and get drunk funnily and forget about all the ugly clutter we have at home. We need to think ahead. We need to make the space that we call our home a space that is worthy of it. It would be nice to have settled somewhere, because Europe is quite small in that sense. We move around, or we used to be able to move around quite quickly. And just within my studying now, I've been through at least a couple different cities with exchange and internships and this and that. And I'd be happy to have figured out a place to stay.